Hi book friends, this is Kat and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is my biblical fiction recommendations video, and it's supposed to be for September, but I think this is going to be my last recommendations video because I'm going to combine September and October together. November on my biblical fiction retellings challenge is basically a random letter generator, so you could look at the past recommendation videos that I've had. I feel like you will have like a lot of recommendations already for you, so that's why I'm not doing one. Not going to do November, and then December is you get to pick anything you want. So I figured I might as well just focus on September and October and just combined it here. So yeah. So for the month of September, you guys get to choose to read in the second part of Paul's letters: Philippians, Colossians, 1st and 2nd Thessalonians, 1st and 2nd Timothy, Philemon, and Titus. Those are going to be combined together. So September's prompt for the Biblical Fiction Challenge is to read a book with a city on the cover or a city in the title. So I have already mentioned these books time and time again. So at least the two books that I own that have a city in the title is Daughter of Rome and Thief of Corinth. So Rome and Corinth are places in like our cities. So I know I've mentioned those books time and time again. You know, you probably have already read them by now, but in case you haven't, those are great options. Other books I have on my list are TBR possibilities for me. So one of the recommendations I have is Jewel of Persia by Tricia Goyer, and this book is part of the Extraordinary Women of the Bible series. You don't have to read any of these books in order, but this is an Esther's story retelling. So I would consider Persia, even though it's a region, I would count it just because honestly, when I was looking for books with cities in the title, they were pretty hard for me to find. So there's that one. And if you want to also look at Rosanna M. White's books, she also has one called Jewel of Persia as well. So again, Esther retelling. So those could be good options. One that is on my TBR that is part of a series is Wings of Wind by Connellan Cassette. This is the third book in her Out of Egypt series, and so this one has a city on the cover. And then the last pile possibility that I personally have on my Goodreads TBR is Before the King by Heather Kaufman, and this is the second book in her series Women of the Way. So I really liked Up from Dust from her, so I'm hoping that I can read this one pretty soon. So those are for September's recommendations, and now let's look at October. October, we're looking at the general letters, and so I did have to divide these up as well, so you get to choose between the letters Hebrews, James, 1st Peter, and 2nd Peter. So those are pretty short books, but the prompt idea that I came up for this is to read a modern retelling from a biblical book in the Bible. So this is technically not biblical fiction, I guess, but I thought it would be interesting to read some modern day retellings. Well, one that I have read was Redeeming Love by Francine Rivers. I know this one's not for everyone, but I personally enjoyed my time with it. So this one is a retelling of Hosea, the book of Hosea, but it's set during the gold rush. So it's technically kind of historical fiction as well, but I would count that. Um, Another retelling that I have semi-read, it was part of our curriculum in high school, and I never finished the book, but I know what happens. But East of Eden by John Steinbeck, I would count it just because it is sort of like pulling elements from Cain and Abel, and you kind of see a bit of that within the story. That's a really chunky book though, so and again, I read snippets of it in high school, but let me see if I can pull up a synopsis for you. Okay, so on Goodreads, one of the lines says that this sprawling and often brutal novel follows the intertwined destinies of two families, the Trasks and the Hamiltons, whose generations helplessly reenact the fall of Adam and Eve and the poisonous rivalry of Cain and Abel. So that to me sounds like a retelling of some sort, but it also says Adam Trask came to California from the east to farm and raise his family on the new rich land. But the birth of his twins, Cal and Aaron, brings his wife to the brink of madness, and Adam is left alone to raise his boys to manhood. One boy thrives, nurtured by the love of all those around him. The other grows up in loneliness, enveloped by a mysterious darkness. So that's all it says. Maybe that will be something that would interest you. Okay, so another one that I have read and thoroughly enjoyed is called Long Way Gone by Charles Martin, and this is sort of a retelling of The Prodigal Son, or has themes based around that. That one is set in Tennessee. It's a young man who is a musician and basically, grew up within the church, leaves and kind of follows his story about what happens, and it was very impactful when I read it. So anyways, that is an option. Another one I would count is The Magician's Nephew by C.S. Lewis. That one really talks about like creation, the creation story, so I would count that for like Genesis. And along with that series, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, I think that's a great depiction of like the Gospels. So those two books from that series I would recommend. And some other ones that are on my radar is there's one called The Road Home by Tommy Tenney and Mark Andrew Olson, and this is supposed to be a retelling of the book of Ruth. The synopsis says Naomi, a Las Vegas widow with a Mennonite background, and her cocktail waitress daughter-in-law Ruth embark on a crisscross journey in search of hope and meaning that leads them to Naomi's old farm in Lancaster County. The other one is it's on my list is The Last Way Home by Liz Johnson, and this is also supposed to be a retelling of The Prodigal Son. It says on Goodreads it is the second book in Prince Edward Island Shores series. So this one says Eli Ross left Prince Edward Island to join the NHL. He left a broken family behind. More than a decade later, he's broke and headed home to an uncertain welcome. He wants to make things right with the family he wronged, but his mom's business partner isn't making it easy. To top it off, the coaching job he's accepted turns out to be far more difficult than he anticipated. For years, Violet Donahue has put everything she had into making Eli's mom's ceramics shop a success, and she's not eager to forgive the man who hurt the family that's taken her in as one of their own. Okay, so I'll just stop there. And yeah, and then The Esther Paradigm is a retelling of Esther. This is from Sarah Monson. Hannah Pratt dreams of starting a school for the Bedouin clan she grew up with as a missionary kid, and finally her hopes are coming true, but shortly after she returns to the desert from her college years in the US, she discovers her parents have received threats from their Muslim neighbors. As danger escalates, Hannah finds she's in the middle of a battle no one seems to understand. She must decide to what lengths she'll go to stay faithful to the mission to which God has called her, even if it costs her everything. As chic Kareem al-Ammar feels the weight of responsibility as the leader of his people when a mysterious illness ravishes the clan's flocks and threatens to destroy their centuries-old way of life. Locals believe the American doctors and their daughter, his childhood friend Hannah, are to blame. Kareem must vow to do something to keep them safe, even if the only solution can be found within marriage vows. So it sounds like a marriage of convenience, maybe. So that one seems interesting as well. The cover is really pretty. So those are the pile of possibilities, and I really do hope that you guys have been enjoying this biblical retelling challenge for this year. I'm not sure if I'm going to do it next year, but I've had some great feedback about it, and I don't know. I know that it has really opened my eyes a lot more to these biblical fiction books out there and encouraged my Bible reading time. So I may or may not, but yeah, let me know what you guys think, and I look forward to hearing from you. So as always, I will see you guys in another video. Bye.